What's up, everybody? We're looking at the Kiev today. Kiev describes itself as an advanced spatial synthesizer. Now that's on the Korg Gadget app. Get it because it's hot, and I'm going to show you what the Kiev does right now. Kiev right here is one of the most interesting and cool looking of the 15 gadgets in the Korg Gadget currently. It's got like all these cool scrapes and stuff and dust and kind of like scratches on the UI. It's got all these blinking lights and knobs and kind of like, you know, meters and kind of not, I don't know, it looks really industrial. Now I don't really use the Kiev all that much in my actual productions that I produce with the Korg Gadget. It's kind of hard to use, but it's also one of the most fun to use. It's got a lot of like really fun, interesting ideas happening right here in front of us. And let me just start walking you through that. Okay, so the first thing I do when I kind of want to understand one of these gadgets, I'll set it down at the bottom here. I'll scroll down to the programs to use the Initializer or the Kiev init. Every one of these gadgets has an init. Which means initialize, which means it's like the base setting. So I'll take it down to init, and then I'll show you and then I'll work up from there. So the first thing to understand is that we have actually four oscillators working in this thing, and these are what is generating the different sounds that you'll be hearing. Okay, so you have oscillator A, B, C, and D, and they're very similar to what we've seen. When you touch one, like a pattern will open up, and it's very similar to what we've seen with the the London, the drum machine, where you can select different sounds in the drum machine's kit or different samples for each button. But here we're selecting different kind of generators or oscillators for, I guess, sounds for the different oscillators, right? So by default, we're just kind of going down like this, and that's fine, but I just want to show you how you can change it for each one. And that becomes an important thing after you understand how they work together. So back on that principle, how do these oscillators work together? Usually you have one or two oscillators in any given synthesizer that are just kind of like on top of each other, right? Well, these ones are moving. You see these lights dancing about? This is so cool. This is how you can understand what oscillator is giving the sound that you get. So I'm going to press a key, and I want you to watch the sound move from B to A as it goes across. That's the top and the bottom ones. Watch how they react, and watch how the sound changes as these dots move across. Literally, if you notice, I'm going from one sound to the next in B to A. B to A is square pad, and A is white pad. Now, what's an interesting thing to note is that every time I hit a key, it will reset back to B. Right? Now, to control the speed of it going back and forth, I'm going to use this dial here. You can go really fast. Or really slow, almost actually stopping. Now the depth here determines the amount of volume that is changed when the oscillator is going back and forth. See how it's like very distinct? Now they just kind of bleed over each other most of the time. And then this will separate them a little bit better. Alright, now this thing that you're dragging around in the middle, this X and Y pad, is actually going to think of it I mean, the instruction manual will say that it's a volume control, but think of it as a crossfade, kind of like on a a DJ sampling table. That if I'm having it over here, see, it's going to start sampling from this oscillator way earlier. See right here, it's like on the third one, but over here it's almost the whole time. Right? So think of that little guy as a crossfade. So not only do you have A and B going back and forth, you have C and D going back and forth. So I'm going to take the speed down on A and B, and I want you to listen for C and D. So right here we have a bit of noise, and we also have a flute. All right? So you have both of these oscillators working at the same time on any given sample. Let me show you a few presets. You can see how they work together. And I'll try one more. Attack pulse. And it's a polyphonic synthesizer as well, so you're going to have two notes going at the same time. Okay, so let me go back to initialize. All right. Now, I'm going to show you the back. We have another toggle here at the top, so it'll give us kind of like the back of the Kiev or another page, if you will. And now here we have a filter. Now this is a proper XY, and we're getting the cutoff and the peak. So we have the type select of the filter here. So like you can see the box going around both the XY and the filter. So this XY, it's basically for the filter. So it has an LPF, which is a low-pass filter, an HPF, high-pass filter, and a BPF, band-pass filter. So now you're seeing that we can cut out the lows, or sorry, cut out the highs and let the low pass. All right, and then we have a high-pass filter. And then a band pass. Okay. Now the filter itself has an envelope. Alright, so that's the filter. Now the next bit on the back here is the effect. Now these effects, I wish that Korg explained more about all these effects. I mean, they're kind of self-explanatory, but there's some details about them that are just wonderful to understand. But basically, all these effects are available to us. So here we are. Let me put on an ensemble. Turn up the effect. Phaser. Now for the effects, the different effects you choose, these knobs will do different things depending on what effect you've chosen. This one's fun, auto pan. And then the effects have the, okay, so aside from the effects, you have an amplifier here as well, which is just the strike of the key. And then the master. So that's the layout of the Korg Kiev. It's just a lot of like interesting like overlaying effects and kind of sounds that just play off of each other. It's really, really interesting to dig into and use. I'm not really good at using it actually in like a sound production, but it's so freaking fun to play with. I really recommend just trying to understand it. All right, that's it for the Korg Kiev. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.